Both these decks are pretty established decks in the metagame at this point. Blue White Red Flash probably a little bit more well known, while Experiment Jund is kind of going through the different sorts of builds that it can go through. We saw this deck debut in Atlanta with a top 8 there by Tyler Lindsay, and making its course through. Ari Lax got his hands on this deck. This is the deck that he played at Pro Tour Montreal, added in Mog Flunkies, made some changes here that he was very happy with, and a lot of people have said about that deck list, Osip. It looks like a pretty good deck, but you know, how much more can it be improved? Is this the best that this deck can look? But we do see it in the finals here this weekend.
I gotta say, I love any deck with Experiment One in it, because I think it's one of the best cards at a Gate Crash. I think it's one of the best cards in general in Standard, and I think that, you know, more and more you're going to see more people sort of take advantage of that card. Same thing with Gyre Sage. I think those are two of the best evolved creatures that are out there, and I think it's a really good mechanic. I mean, you can be dealing with like 3 to 4 power guys on turn 3, and I think the more the format evolves, the more you're going to see those creatures like play a bit larger role.
Yeah. Definitely agree with you, as we do see Evan is going to take a mulligan here. Evan going on down to 6 cards. Let's see if he's going to stop there. So you see a couple of spells. He flares his eyebrows, and is it going to be a mulligan to 5 for your finals match?
All right.
He's going to keep, and we are underway here in the finals at Star City Games Open Series Las Vegas. Devin starts off with a Glacial Fortress and passes the turn back. Evan's draw step for the turn was a Burning Tree Emissary, and he is just going to play a Blood Crypt and say go.
All right, so at least Devin doesn't have to deal with the 1-drop, so that's big. And it doesn't look like Evan's hand has many creatures in it. He has a Rampager and an Emissary, but I think a lot of the rest of them are spells.
Yep. And Blood Crypt is the draw for the turn. And what you see in Evan's hand is a Dreadbore, an Abrupt Decay, a Searing Spear. This is a deck that has 7 spells and 31 creatures, and he's found 4 of his spells to go along with a Burning Tree Emissary, an Overgrown Tomb, which he does just play right now, and he does have that Emissary to come down, but no follow-up with it makes it look a lot less impressive.
I know I said before the match that Burning Tree Emissary is huge. I like to caveat that now, as long as there is, in fact, a creature to follow that up with.
You see Evan is going to cast Searing Spear off of the extra mana, dealing Devin 3 and just passing the turn back. A little bit of a questionable play there. I think I'd rather hold my Searing Spear.
Yeah, you don't have to always use your mana, especially when your opponent has cards like the Augur Bolus, for instance.
Yeah.
But, you know, Evan does have a Gorkland Rampager to deal with that. Mizzy Mortis, huge card there. So, I like Evan just... I like Devin not playing the Reckoner there, despite the fact that he could have. He just wants to get... actually, I'm not sure if he had an untapped land available, but... you know, Reckoner is not going to be great right here, obviously, because Devin has so many ways to deal with it. But Evan's, you know, in bad shape right now. You know, he doesn't have anything to really attack effectively right here. He can attack with that. Rampager will trample over, but, you know, he has no other creatures in play.
Yeah, you know, the question I was going to ask you before this play actually took place is, you know, do you like the attack there of, you know, attack with the Emissary? Obviously, Devin's going to block with Augur of Bolus, and then using the Rampager as +4/+4 to clear it out of the way, or would you rather just...
I'd rather just cast it.
Yeah, I'd rather just have a 4/4 myself as well.
If I had any other creatures, but, you know, a 4/4 is not bad in this matchup. I mean, you know that Devin has a Mizzium Mortars, so maybe that's sort of what Evan was thinking about, but... you know, I don't know. I think I still like having a threat, because, you know, all you did right here is deal 3 damage and deal with an Augur, but you still don't have any creatures, and even if you do, even if your Rampager dies to Mizzium Mortars, that's 1 less Mizzium Mortars that could kill another creature that you draw. So, yeah, I think I would have preferred to just attack for, maybe not even attack and just pass the turn, or if you want Abrupt Decay perhaps, but...
what you do see is you see a Dreadbore take care of that Boros Reckoner. Devin is a land light. He does draw a Steam Vents for the turn, so he's doing all right now. And you do see he has another Boros Reckoner in his hand, but missing that land and having to take 2 for this one does change things a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely changed things, because, you know, like I said, Evan's deck is a little bit different than Naya Blitz, where he actually has some cards that can bring him back from behind. He has cards like Aristocrat and Hellrider, which can be huge.
So we see another Burning Tree Emissary, the draw step here for Evan. Dragon Skull Summit going to come into play. And you did see that Devin did use the Mizzium Mortars to take care of the Burning Tree Emissary. I actually like that play a lot from him. Just, you know, not too proud. You know, it deals 4 damage, killing, you know, a grizzly bear. But let's get that thing off the table and just keep on rolling.
I think Devin knows that with cards like Hell Rider and Aristocrat, he can definitely be in bad shape if that Burning Tree just keeps chipping away at his life total. So let's not mess around. Let's just deal with it when we can.
You see Abrupt Decay take care of that second Boros Reckoner here, so Evan is cardless. Has a Burning Tree Emissary, and now he has... I can't tell, but he's going to come across there. It is definitely not a haste creature. And this is going to be a pretty good Azorius Charm, as that's going to put Burning Tree Emissary back on top of the deck, and he's just going to pass the turn back. So now Devyn is feeling pretty good, as you do see another Azorius Charm, a Snapcaster Mage, Sacred Foundry that's going to come into play tapped, and he is just going to pass the turn back. Burning Tree Emissary going to come off the top of the deck for Evan, and he's just going to pass the turn back, as you are going to see Snapcaster Mage here from Devyn.
I like that. He wants to get his Strings of Revelation as fast as possible.
Yeah, just increase the velocity of your deck. Keep churning through it. Find the cards that actually do matter. Because Clifftop Retreat is the draw.
Even though things don't look that bad for Devyn, you know, he's still aware of the fact that Hell Rider or Aristocrat can change things right away. So let's just try to get things going when we can. And
now Devyn is going to shift gears here and start being the aggressor. As you see Snapcaster Mage coming across here. And now we are going to see an Augur of Bolas.
Yeah, I would have preferred to cast the Augur first. And
get some information
first, just because, you know, what if Evan has a top deck's like a Flinthoof board?
Okay.
Maybe you want to just like double block that. You know what I mean? Depending on if you hit a spell or not. So, but either way, pretty much putting on Evan not having anything great, which we know he just has a land.
And now you see a
Mog Flunkies, I believe.
That is a Mog Flunkies. So Mog Flunkies is going to join the party.
Don't think Devyn's in a good position to really cast an Azorius Charm just for the cycle yet.
Yeah.
I think he still might want to hold on to it in case an Aristocrat shows up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's ahead right now. As you guys just see Mog Flunkies on the screen there, reprinted in M13. He is ahead right now, and I don't think there's any reason to pull the trigger on any of the Azorius Charms. You got to give him a reason, as you know, he's pretty happy with where he's at. He has 2 copies of Azorius Charm in his hand, and he is going to give the beatdowns here. Again, turning the corner really well here and starting to put the pressure on Evan, and wants to start cutting down as many draw steps as possible.
Yeah, and you know, the fact that he's just able to start dealing with these creatures, again, a little dangerous if an Aristocrat does show up, because he's either going to take 3 or lose a Snapcaster, but he does have an Azorius Charm for it. But I guess the worst card is Hell Rider.
Falkenrath Aristocrat, the draw step here for Evan. So a haste threat is going to make it so the Mog Flunkies can't attack. You guys did see Snapcaster Mage on Mizzium Mortars take down the Burning Tree Emissary to make it so Flunkies couldn't attack, but can't stop the top of the deck. Here comes the Aristocrat and the Mog Flunkies. And I believe we're going to see an Azorius Charm here on the Aristocrat. That's going to go back on top. I think Devyn's okay taking 3 life. Taking 3, going down to 7. Knowing what's coming the following turn as well.
Yeah, he has another Azorius Charm in his hand.
Yep.
And he's got a 3-turn clock right here, so hoping to draw a Revelation or a Snapcaster or a Restoration Angel. Reckoner would also be huge. But again, I mean, Aristocrat's tough to deal with, you know? He already used 2 Azorius Charms. He has a 3rd one we know of, but still, he probably has to hold 2 of his guys back to deal with the Flunkies now.
So now you see an attack here from the Snapcaster Mage, going to bring Evan down to 11. We, of course, know that Falkenrath Aristocrat is on the top of the deck. Devyn plays the Steam Vents. He does just have a land and an Azorius Charm in his hand. So that Azorius Charm is probably going to put that Falkenrath Aristocrat back on top of the deck again. But you see Evan is going to cast his Aristocrat and just do the same song and dance that he did last turn.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that despite Evan's really slow start, Devyn has just been getting land flooded, so really not drawing the spells that he needs, like a Restoration Angel, a Strings of Revelation. Any of those draws pretty much lock this game up.
Yep.
But you know, this is what happens. This is, you know, despite Evan's slow start, still managed to come from behind because of cards like Aristocrat and Hell Rider.
And he ends up dealing the damage there to the Augur of Bolas instead of the Snapcaster Mage. How do you feel about that damage assessment? Just, you know, which guy do you want to take care of there?
I don't mind it because I don't think Evan's afraid of dying to the attacks, and having lower toughness makes your Rampager is better if you draw a Rampager.
Okay.
So I don't hate that play. You know, you're basically sacrificing 1 point of power for 2 points of toughness. So I think that's kind of the way Evan was thinking about it.
So you see Devyn does draw another land. He plays a Clifftop Retreat. He has a mountain left in his hand. So you see a Falkenrath Aristocrat come in here for 4. It's going to put Devyn down to 3. And with Evan at 7, Devyn is looking at a lethal attack next turn. So
he needs a Searing Spear, Swings of Revelation, or a Restoration Angel.
Top of deck, Augur of
Augur.
Bolas.
That's step 1.
That's a start.
Let's see if he gets there. Let's see. 3
Restoration
cards.
Angel.
Ooh,
Mizzium Mortars.
So that's the way to steal the Aristocrat.
you see Devyn, a little bit of a deep breath there. Whew. Coming across for 4, putting Evan down to 3.
And the great thing about the Augur into that means that he actually doesn't die to a Hellrider either, or a Flinttooth Board.
Yep.
So great turn for Devyn.
Evan can still top deck. Evan draws. And he draws a Woodland Cemetery and concedes the game. So Devyn peels his way out of it and is up a game in a very, very crucial game 1.
And it just shows you how robust Evan's deck really is, because his start was terrible.
Yeah.
But his 4-drops can just bring him back into the game. Yep. And that's sort of what we were talking about yesterday when we saw that black-white zombie deck, you know, or Kibler's deck, you know. It's like you really want a deck that can give you some play from when you're behind.
Yeah.
You know, because the way this format is, it's so swingy sometimes, you know? You feel like you're ahead, and then suddenly your opponent can chip away at you, you know? There are these back-breaking spells like Swings of Revelation or Thragtusk or Rakdos Return. So you don't want to play a deck that has no game from behind. You know, you want to be able to come back from behind if you can. And Evan's deck can certainly do that, you know? It has Aristocrat, it has Hellrider. Devyn's deck can do that too. I mean, Boros Reckoner Harvest Spire is certainly a way that you can win games out of nowhere. So, and Sphinx of Revelation as well. So I think it's interesting to see both these decks face each other, because both of them can create these starts that look overwhelming, but can also come back from behind with some certain spells.
You know, the one thing that we talked about over the course of that entire game very briefly is that, you know, the entire time we were just saying, okay, well, what can Evan draw to get himself back into this game? And the entire time we're just like, oh man, Falkenrath, this is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Hellrider would be okay right here to get him back in this game. And you saw just how much difficulty Devyn was having with the Falkenrath Aristocrat. Yes, he was mana flooding, but, you know, he had to top deck on that last turn to be able to win the game. Fortunately enough, Augur and Mizzium Mortars got it done. But, you know, the Black-White Zombies deck that we saw yesterday, you know, Brian Kibler's Black-Green Ooze deck, you know, when you try to think of those cards that they can top deck, they aren't really there.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Horrible situations.
When you're thinking about what to play in Standard, lay your deck out and look at the cards that you think, if I top deck this late in the game and I'm behind, would this help me win?
Yeah.
And if you lay out Kibler's deck, there's not many cards that you would say, oh, this deck will help me win if I top deck it. He's got like a Garruk Relentless.
Yeah.
That's really not going to win you games if you're behind, you know? He certainly has lines that early on would allow him to set up a dominant board position.
Sure.
But you're not always going to be ahead.
Sure.
Realistically, in a tournament, there will be a number of times where you're behind. Mm-hmm. What spells in your deck can help you pull from behind? Mm-hmm. And that's what you really need to think about when you're building your deck.
It's trivia time. We're giving away a full year of premium. So we hope you guys are awake and with us here, because we're going to ask one heck of a doozy of a question.
A doozy?
Yeah, it's going to be real tough, so brace yourself. Get your internet ready, or don't.
No internet.
Either way, it's okay. Of course, just the way we play this game, I'm going to ask you a question. Tweet the answer at hashtag SCG Premium, and the winner, whoever gets the answer right, we'll select one of the winners, is going to get a full year. And the question is, within this Experiment Jund deck, there is a 1-mana green creature that you are a very big fan of. Some would say that the deck is named after this card. And if you're able to name that green creature, tweet the answer to hashtag SCG Premium, and you will win a full year of premium. Again, there is a 1-mana green creature that some would say Experiment Jund is named after. And if you're able to name that creature, we'll give you a full year. We'll give you a full year.
I wish we could just have like movie trivia, not just Magic trivia.
Well, I would do sports trivia if I could ask anything.
We do sports trivia.
Yeah, I would do basketball trivia and just destroy people. They would have to use the internet for that.
How about a combination of Magic and sports trivia?
Oh, so you want to talk about
who is Mike Flores' favorite basketball team? That's it. If you follow him on Twitter, you would know the answer to that question.
No, I believe is it the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yeah, it is.
It is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. No one's favorite sports team, and I'm from Cleveland. It's not even my favorite.
We should just have a Flores trivia section. There's so much out there.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be a joy.
I have a Flores trivia question.
Okay.
Flores is married to a beautiful woman.
Okay.
And she's in marketing. There is a television character, a commercial character. You know, like one of those, like Flo from the Progressive commercials.
Unfortunately, I do.
There is a commercial character that his wife was actually based on.
Really?
Yes. They don't run these commercials anymore, but they were really popular in like the mid 2000s.
Okay.
And she was played by Alyssa Milano. Can anyone name the commercial character that Flores' wife was based on? And Mike Flores cannot answer this question, but he talks about it all the time because, obviously, Alyssa Milano played this character.
Mike Flores talks about something that involves him? No.
So there is
right.
there is a commercial character played by Alyssa Milano that Mike Flores' wife was based on. So if you can tweet the answer to us, you will win a signed autographed picture of Mike Flores. And although I cannot promise you will get it.
Yeah, tweet that to @OSIPL.
Yeah.
All the answers, that's fine. We're going to cut back to our match here, as we do see both players have sideboard looking at their opening 7. Of course, we've already gone over the sideboard options at the top here. 2 Supreme Verdicts are going to be coming in for Devyn. Can't imagine too much else. As far as what's on Evan's side here, he does have a lot of different ways he can go. 1 copy of Dami Rod, 1 copy of Abrupt Decay, an additional Searing Spear, 2 copies of Duress, 2 copies of Lily of Valderin, 2 copies of Liliana the Veil, 2 Golgari Charms as well. So he can do a lot of different things here. Doesn't want to dilute his deck too much because he does want to have those aggressive starts still. But I wouldn't be surprised to see an additional Abrupt Decay come in here for maybe a Dreadbore or a Searing Spear, depending if he wants Reach or the ability to just always kill Boros Reckoner with the greatest of ease. Wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a Duress come in, maybe Golgari Charm, since it can counteract Supreme Verdicts that are in the sideboard. So there are a lot of different ways that he can go here also.
Yeah, honestly, I don't want to take out any of my creatures. Not a huge fan of Dreadbore. Granted, it does kill Boros Reckoner, which is huge. But maybe you want to swap the Dreadbore for an Abrupt Decay, so you have that instant speed ability. Searing Spear, you might want to cut the Searing Spear, because again, it gives him a little reach. But I could see maybe cutting the Searing Spears for maybe an Abrupt Decay and a Duress. But again, like you said, he doesn't really want to dilute his deck, so I don't see any of the creatures coming out. Maybe short of maybe the Funkies, but I wouldn't even love bringing out my Funkies.
One card that we do see here is Duress in Evan's deck, as Evan led off with just an Overgrown Tomb past the turn. Now you see Duress and a Rootbound Crag come into play for him. The hand for Devyn is a Supreme Verdict and a Azorius Charm, and got a couple lands over there, along with Snapcaster Mage and a Restoration Angel. Lands are going to be Steam Fence, Glacial Fortress, and Mountain. Along with that Steam Fence that is already in play. Would be a little bit surprised if he doesn't just take out the Supreme Verdict and move along here.
It depends on what his hand is. He might say, I'm going to take your Azorius Charm so you don't have a turn 2 play. But yeah, it looks like he's taking a Supreme Verdict, and not sure. It looks like Evan did in fact keep the Mog Flunkies in the deck. So that was the only creature that I would maybe consider taking out.
And he does have an Experiment 1.
Experiment 1
yes.
Comes into play. Ideally, you'd want it on turn 1, but turn 2, still not the worst. Has a follow-up of Flunkies next turn to grow it. Top deck Emissary here would be huge. Ooh, Dreadmangler.
Dreadmangler's not too bad at all.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a Blood Crypt come into play tapped here. I'm a little bit surprised here as you do see a Mog Flunkies. Yeah, so that's gonna raise that up a little bit.
I mean, I like this play because he's threatening 9 next turn.
Okay. Azorius Charm is going to put that right back on the top of the deck here. So I guess he can cast that, and now next turn he can play Dreadmangler, and he can go Experiment 1 into Dreadmangler.
So okay, Experiment 1 will still be 2, and Dreadmangler will allow the Flunkies to attack still. Yeah. So.
And it makes it so that that Azorius Charm isn't as backbreaking, as you do see a Steam Fence come to play tap for Devyn, and he does just pass the turn back. So pretty good sequencing there.
Yeah, not bad. And Evan actually, and that's the thing, you really want to try to get as many creatures in play now that you know the Supreme Verdict is gone. Yeah. Like he only has 1 left in his deck, and Snapcaster Supreme Verdict's a little ways away. So
it's quite a bit of mana.
Interesting. He could go for the Olivia right here, or decides to just play Dreadmangler. So yeah, he doesn't have a double. I don't think does he have double green, or?
Yeah, he does have double green over there. He has an Overgrown Tomb and a Rootbound Crag, so I'm really surprised that he didn't lead off with the Experiment 1 into Dreadmangler, making that a 2-2 and really putting the pressure on.
Yeah, because again, I don't think Evan cares about the life loss as much.
Yeah.
But perhaps he wants a follow-up to in case Devyn top decks the second wrath. I'm not sure, but yeah, I probably would have played the experiment one and then Dreadmangler. But again, still pretty good shape for him. I mean, Devyn doesn't have. You managed to duress one of the Supreme Verdicts, and Devyn hasn't really been able to commit anything to the board. Obviously, a Reckoner would be huge because Evan doesn't have a removal-heavy hand.
The big problem here, Osip, is that by not playing the experiment one here, he can't. Let's say that Devyn Searing Spears that Dreadmangler, he can't attack with them all flunkies now, so he's just putting himself behind too many turns. He's just trying to play too long of a game.
And not only that, but he's likely wants to cast Olivia this turn, so Experiment 1 would have actually been a 3/3 at this point and been able to attack.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna play the Experiment 1 this turn, why wouldn't you just play it the turn before? You know, because clearly he's not afraid of Supreme Verdict. So now, like you said, he could Searing Spear the Dreadmangler, or he could just cast Restoration Angel. I personally would rather just cast Restoration Angel, let him attack, cast Restoration Angel, trade with the Dreadmangler, then Searing Spear the Olivia.
Yeah. It's not. He's just going to play the Restoration Angel on the main phase, and then he just passes the turn back.
So it looks like Evan didn't even bother attacking.
Yeah.
By
playing all the spells in the main phase as well there before attacking, I mean, it just shows that, okay, I don't have Goreclan Rampage or anything to stop this here. So some pretty poor sequencing here as Olivia is going to take down, or excuse me, Searing Spear is going to take down that Olivia.
And right now Devyn's not in bad shape. Evan doesn't have any more gas left. I think he has no cards in his hand. Again, top deck Hellrider's huge, top deck Aristocrat's great, but Rampager would also be pretty huge because I don't think Devyn has access to Azorius Charm right now. He does have a Snapcaster in his hand, but he can't cast both the spells. So Restoration Angel looks like it could just be holding off this entire attack.
So you're just going to see Dreadmangler get in here. The reason, of course, is because of the scavenge on that card.
Yeah, and I like that play because if you can scavenge onto the experiment one, you can the removing the counters for regeneration actually matters, So kind of like that play.
You could also just simply threaten a Goreclan Rampager there as well with that attack. So
yeah, and I think Devyn's Ruin Summon, which gives him a lot of options now.
Yeah.
Looks like he has the looks like Evan drew a Flintoff Boar. So at this point, I think Flintoff Boar gives him enough creatures to just do an all-out attack if he wants to.
Yeah.
Which we know Devyn has enough lines where that's not going to be terrible for him. But I don't know if Evan really thinks this game's just get too far away from me if Devyn has a Sphinx of Revelation and I don't attack with all my creatures.
Yeah. At some point, you have to make a commitment here and just try to get the opponent dead. And the longer the game goes, the worse it is for you.
It's like there's only so many cards you can play around, and you have to be afraid of Sphinx of Revelation.
And he is going to attack with all of his guys, so all the 3/3s are going to come across. You see Devyn's going to spread them out, figure out what he wants to do here.
So you have potential to do Snapcaster for Azorius Charm, Snapcaster for Searing Spear. You have the Unsummon still. So certainly not a terrible turn for Devyn.
And so now you're going to see a Snapcaster Mage here. You're going to see a Searing Spear, and he's deciding on what he does want to kill.
Yeah, he could try to kill the Experiment one, but it looks like he's just going to block the Flintoff Board. Maybe block the Dreadmangler, or maybe just the Flunkies and saying, forget it, I don't want you to attack anymore.
You can see he's playing around Goreclan Rampager a little bit here. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Looked like he was a little bit scared there, considering a double block, but he's going to get that Restoration Angel in front of the Flunkies. He's going to chump block with Snapcaster Mage from the Dreadmangler just because he doesn't want Dreadmangler to go to the yard.
Yeah.
And now you're going to see what looks to be an Unsummon on that Experiment one to help reset that.
Yeah, and that's great because Evan's basically out of cards, so Experiment 1 should be a 1/1 for at least another turn.
Restoration is going to be that, and now we're going to be left here with an Experiment 1 and a Dreadmangler versus a Restoration Angel, and Restoration Angel is standing tall.
Yeah, and top deck Mizzy Mortars would be great right here.
Thought Scour on the end step is a way to find it.
Devyn's out of cards currently.
It's going to turn over a Sulfur Falls and a Boros Reckoner, and it's going to draw him an Augur of Bolas.
So, again, good draw. It's a blocker and a spell, hopefully.
And the draw step is going to net. I'm not quite sure. It did look like another blue card here.
So, again, Aristocrat threatens to be very dangerous because Experiment 1 is actually a human as well, so it will get a +1/+1 counter on top of indestructibility. But
you see an Augur of Bolas here. And it's going to be a Sphinx Revelation. So, that is a good magic card.
That's a huge find there. And it looks like he has a Thought Scour as well. I'm not... Yeah, so it looks like he's going to Thought Scour himself.
Clifftop Retreat and Glacial Fortress go
Two
away.
Misses.
Mystery card comes to the hand. And we know that Devyn does have a Sphinx Revelation and another card. And Evan is again playing off the top of his deck. Falkner's got, again, a perfectly reasonable draw, but it needs to be here right about now. You see a Hell Rider.
So, again, not quite as good. Experiment 1 will grow. You will do 3 damage, dropping Devyn to 8. Restoration Angel will likely block the Hell Rider, which means that you'll either get 3 or 2 damage in. So in total, you can probably do between 6 and 5 damage this turn.
Yeah.
Putting Devyn a little further out of reach.
But Supreme
putting further in reach to a card like maybe a Searing Spear, or doesn't have Evan doesn't have a lot of burn to kind of finish it out. But I think attacking with casting Hell Rider attacking is kind of reasonable, especially if you know your opponent has a Sphinx Revelation.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, of course, is the Sphinx Revelation is the biggest issue here.
Yeah.
You see Evan considering a few options here. I think if you're going to attack with the Dread Mangler, then you're just best playing the Hell Rider as basically as an enchantment for the turn.
But why
Get
not
your
cast
3 point of damage.
Why not cast it first to do the damage? Yeah, so probably should have cast Hell Rider first in order to get the trigger. But looks like he's going to just try to play the Hell Rider now, grow the Experiment 1, and then make it a 6/6 next turn, so that it'll continue to be able to attack. It looks like he might have forgotten the Experiment 1 trigger as well. Is that a May?
That is. That is. Yep.
Okay, so looks like
all the triggers are optional now.
Stays a 1/1. Evan might just feel a little defeated because of the Sphinx Revelation.
Yeah. You see 5 mana here. You're going to see the Scavenge on the Dread Mangler.
Yeah, so this is kind of unfortunate because he can't even attack with the Experiment 1, really. Devyn can just chump block the Hell Rider if he wants to, and then block the Experiment 1 with the Restoration Angel.
You do see Hell Rider coming across here. Trigger there is going to knock Devyn down to 10, so long as he does remember it, which he does. And a 6/6 is coming across now.
So Devyn's going to probably draw 4 cards first.
Yep.
See what he gets. Probably wants an Azorius Charm. Or Boros Reckoner is not bad.
Boros Reckoner is never bad.
Yeah. And, let's see what so we have an Azorius Charm. So, way to deal with the Hell Rider. And it looks like he's just going to chump out there.
Augur Bolas, you've done more than enough.
More than enough. You got me a Sphinx Revelation, and you saved me 6 damage, so thank you. Oh, another Restoration Angel.
Restoration Angel is the draw here, and we might begin to see here Devyn begin to turn the corner here, and you do see an attack here, Restoration Angel. You can see he has no fear of that 6/6 Hell Rider or that 1/1 Experiment Ooze. He has a Restoration Angel in his hand. He also has an Azorius Charm in his hand as well, so now you're going to see him start to shift gears here and start to get this game over with.
And, oh wow, Evan draws a Porkine Rampager. That's huge. Again, if that Experiment 1 was a 2/2, it would have been a little bit more threatening, but I think maybe Evan's questioning whether or not he should cast a Rampager and make my Experiment 1 a 2/2. But I think he has to think that Devyn likely has, either Snapcaster Mage or a Restoration Angel, some flash creature that's going to make this attack difficult.
So we see two triggers, from the Hell Rider. Going to knock Devyn down to 12.
Now, oh wow! So Devyn does have a Snapcaster Mage, so it looks like that's coming into play, not the Restoration Angel. So we can rebuy the Snapcaster next turn with the Restoration Angel.
Sure.
So now he could just get
very easily Azorius Charm,
target the Hell Rider, and just take one.
Yeah. You could take one, or I mean, he could even block and force.
I wouldn't want. I'd rather keep my Snapcaster in play so I can have the Restoration Angel next turn. But I guess he just doesn't want to take
I think it's reasonable here, where the only thing that goes wrong is the Gorkline Rampager, and if he is Gorkline Rampaging that, that's awesome for him. You know, it's basically Gorkline Rampager getting in a few points of damage, which is not that big of a deal. And you see Evan doesn't even opt to cast it, he just passes the turn back. You see Devyn come across for 3. Augur of Bolas is going to come into play.
Yeah, and we know Evan still has a Rampager, so you might try to Rampage the Hell Rider next turn. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't Rampage the Experiment one. Because we know he has it, right?
Yeah.
So, Hell Rider for the turn.
So there's your Hell Rider.
So this could be really good for Devyn, because we could see a Restoration Angel blinking my Augur, and then blocking the Hell Rider. Then we're going to see a Rampager. He has to make sure to leave a white and a blue up.
Yep, and you see him doing that right there.
So yeah, it looks like we're going to blink our Augur, scry for 3, and then block the Hell Rider. Evan will try to Rampage it, and then Devyn will Azorius Charm it to the top of his library.
Or even Searing Spirit now.
Now it's definitely, yeah.
So now he's going to Gorkline Rampager this. With
and I think I want to take away his draw. I think I'd still rather take away his draw step. Hell Rider's not really good when you're facing 7 damage.
And he's going to Azorius Charm that right back to the top.
Yeah, because Evan is basically on a 2-turn clock right now.
Yep.
And and he's got no cards left in his hand, so Devyn's just going to attack for 7. Evan, worst thing to do, Evan just plays the Hell Rider and probably just has to leave it back to block. It doesn't matter, you're dead next turn.
Yeah,
so.
and he knows he has a Searing Spear.
Yeah.
So what it looks like to me, Osip, is we're going to be crowning a brand new Standard champion in Devyn March, a man that has not lost a match all weekend here with Blue, White, Red Flash.
I called it. Flash is going to win it.
You did call it, my friend. Human Reanimator made it to the top 4. I was close, but you see an attack for here. You see a lethal Searing Spear. And you have a champion in Devyn March.
Devyn March. He needed this win. He needed it. So, Blue, Red, White Flash managed to defeat probably his hardest matchup, Jund, in the top 4. And then Experiment Jund, you know, we thought it was going to be a much tougher matchup than it ended up turning out to be. I mean, Devyn won game 1 exactly the way he needed to.